The morning sun cast long shadows across the United Nations plaza. As Dr. Maya Rodriguez adjusted her badge one more time, today wasn't just any day. Today, humanity would meet its first alien visitor, and Maya had spent the last 5 years preparing for this exact moment. She clutched her research folder tighter as she walked through the security checkpoints. Inside were detailed notes about interspecies communication patterns, cultural sensitivity protocols, and carefully crafted greeting phrases in 17 different theoretical alien languages. Maya had dedicated her entire career to this field, even when her colleagues called it science fiction nonsense. The massive assembly hall buzzed with nervous energy. Diplomats from every nation on Earth had gathered, their faces a mixture of excitement and fear. Maya found her assigned seat in the third row, right behind the main diplomatic table. Perfect. Positioned to observe and assist when needed. At exactly 10 a.m. The air above the stage began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement. A collective gasp filled the room as a transport beam materialized, depositing the most magnificent being Maya had ever seen. Ambassador Zixathara stood 7 feet tall, her skin shifting between deep blue and silver like an oil slick in sunlight. Her eyes were large and luminous, containing depths that seemed to hold entire galaxies. Most striking were the delicate, crystal-like formations growing from her temples. Pulsing with soft purple light, Maya leaned forward, fascinated. This was exactly what her research had predicted. Based on atmospheric analysis of the alien homeworld, she quickly scribbled notes, documenting every detail for future reference. The ambassador surveyed the room with obvious disdain, her gaze swept over the assembled humans like someone examining insects under a microscope. When her eyes passed over Maya, they didn't pause for even a fraction of a second. Secretary General Williams stepped forward, reading from Maya's carefully prepared welcome speech. Ambassador Zixathara, on behalf of all humanity, we welcome you to Earth. We hope this marks the beginning of a peaceful relationship between our species. The alien's response came as a melodic series of tones that somehow translated directly into everyone's minds. I acknowledge your primitive attempt at communication. I will speak only with your highest-ranking males, as is proper for important matters. Maya felt her heart sink. She watched as the ambassador's attention fixed solely on the male diplomats at the main table, completely ignoring the female representatives, translators, and advisors. President Chen raised his hand tentatively. Ambassador, we have several experts here who specialize in interspecies communication. Perhaps they could assist in making our discussions more productive? Zixathara's crystalline formations flickered with what Maya recognized as irritation. Your species seems confused about hierarchy. I will deal only with decision-makers, not their servants. Maya bit her tongue. She had spent years studying alien social structures and knew that many species valued knowledge over gender, but clearly, the Celestial Dominion operated differently. Still, she had to try. During the first break, Maya approached the main table where Zixathara stood reviewing holographic documents. Ambassador, I'm Dr. Maya Rodriguez. I've been studying your language patterns and cultural markers. I believe I can help facilitate better understanding between our peoples. The alien didn't even look up. She continued studying her documents, as if Maya hadn't spoken at all. Maya tried again, this time speaking in what her research suggested might be a more formal celestial dialect. Honored Zixathara, this humble scholar offers knowledge to bridge the gap between stars. Still nothing. The ambassador simply moved to a different position, effectively turning her back on Maya. President Chen noticed the snub and approached. Ambassador, Dr. Rodriguez here is our leading expert on your species. She's been preparing for this meeting for years. Now Zixathara looked up, but her gaze went straight to the president, ignoring Maya completely. If you require translation services, assign a proper male representative. I will not waste time with lesser beings who clearly serve only decorative purposes in your society. The insult hit Maya like a slap round the room. She noticed other female diplomats and experts receiving similar treatment. The ambassador's telepathic abilities seemed selective. She could hear male voices clearly. but somehow filtered out female contributions entirely. As the day progressed, Maya watched in growing frustration as her carefully researched suggestions were dismissed or ignored. When she tried to warn about potential cultural misunderstandings, Zixathara acted as if she hadn't spoken. When she offered insights into alien technology that could benefit both species, the ambassador's attention remained fixed solely on the male officials. The worst moment came during the afternoon session. Maya had prepared a comprehensive presentation about successful interspecies cooperation models from Earth's history. She stood up, cleared her throat, and began speaking about how different cultures had learned to work together despite initial misunderstandings. Zixathara's response was swift and cutting. Without even looking in Maya's direction, she addressed President Chen. "Please control your support staff. Their chattering is distracting from important matters." The room fell silent. Maya felt her face burn with embarrassment and anger. Around her, she could see sympathetic looks from colleagues who understood exactly what had just happened. But Maya wasn't the type to give up easily. She had worked too hard and come too far to let alien prejudice derail humanity's first diplomatic contact. As the session ended and delegates began filing out, she made a decision that would change everything. Tomorrow, she would find a way to make the ambassador listen, even if it meant breaking every diplomatic protocol in the book. Little did she know that fate had already decided to intervene in the most unexpected way possible. Maya woke up at 5 a.m., determined to make today different. She had stayed up late researching every possible approach to break through Ambassador Zixathara's stubborn prejudice. Her coffee grew cold as she practiced different greeting phrases and rehearsed her most compelling arguments. The second day of negotiations was crucial. Both sides needed to reach some basic agreements, or the entire summit would collapse. Maya knew her expertise could save the talks, but first, she had to find a way to make the ambassador actually listen to her. She arrived at the UN building extra early, hoping to catch Zixathara before the formal sessions began. The morning air was crisp, and the plaza was nearly empty except for security guards and a few early arriving staff members. Maya made her way to the diplomatic wing, where she knew the alien delegation had set up their temporary quarters. Her plan was simple: corner the ambassador in a private moment and force a one-on-one conversation where gender politics couldn't interfere. As she walked down the marble corridor, Maya reviewed her strategy one more time. She would speak in the formal celestial dialect, present her credentials first, and then offer something valuable that even an arrogant alien couldn't ignore. The corridor outside the main assembly hall was lined with elegant wooden benches. Maya had often seen diplomats using this quiet space to prepare for important meetings or make private phone calls. Today, she planned to use it as her staging ground. She settled onto one of the benches, spreading her research papers beside her. The morning light filtered through tall windows, creating a peaceful atmosphere that helped calm her nerves. Maya took a deep breath and began reviewing her notes one final time. Unknown to her, just a few feet away, Ambassador Zixathara was already there. The Celestial Dominion had evolved a remarkable survival trait over millions of years. When threatened or needing to meditate, their species could bend light around their bodies, becoming completely invisible to most forms of detection. It was a skill that had saved their ancestors from countless predators and now served diplomatic purposes. Zixathara had activated this natural camouflage ability 20 minutes earlier. The weight of the negotiations pressed heavily on her mind, and she needed time to center herself before facing another day of what she considered primitive human politics. She sat perfectly still on the bench, her 7-foot frame invisible as she practiced ancient meditation techniques. Her breathing slowed, her heartbeat steadied, and her telepathic abilities expanded outward, monitoring the building for any signs of threat or disturbance. The ambassador's meditation was deep and focused. In her mind, she was connecting with the collective consciousness of her people, drawing strength from their shared wisdom. She thought about her dying homeworld, about the resources her people desperately needed, and about the burden of securing humanity's cooperation. Maya, completely unaware of the invisible presence beside her, continued organizing her papers. She was so focused on her preparation that she didn't notice the slight shimmer in the air, or the barely perceptible indent in the bench cushion. At exactly 8:30 a.m., Maya heard footsteps approaching from down the corridor. Thinking it might be other early rivals, she quickly gathered her papers and started to stand up. But in her haste, she misjudged the space available on the bench instead of standing up cleanly. Maya shifted sideways and sat back down heavily, right where she thought the bench was empty. The result was immediate chaos. Maya found herself sitting on something that definitely wasn't bench cushion. It was warm, solid, and moving beneath her. Before she could react, the air around her exploded in a shower of sparkling light as Zixathora's camouflage ability collapsed completely. The alien ambassador materialized instantly, her iridescent skin flickering between confused colors, her crystal formations blazing with shocked purple light. Her eyes went wide with surprise and indignation as she realized a human woman was literally sitting on top of her. What in the name of the Seven Suns? Zixathora's mental voice thundered directly into Maya's mind, no longer filtered through her usual diplomatic restraint. Maya scrambled to get off the ambassador, her papers flying everywhere. "Oh no, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you there. How could I not see you?" The ambassador tried to maintain her dignity while untangling herself from the unexpected human contact. Her meditation had been completely shattered. Her mental shields had collapsed. And worst of all, she could feel her telepathic barriers crumbling. "You dare to violate my personal space?" Zixathora struggled to stand while Maya frantically gathered scattered research papers from around their feet. "I really didn't know you were there," Maya insisted, still trying to understand what had just happened. "Were you invisible? Can your species actually become invisible?" The question caught Zixathora off guard. Most species they had encountered either feared their camouflage ability or tried to steal the technology. This human seemed genuinely curious, rather than threatened. As both women finally managed to separate themselves and stand up properly, something unprecedented began to happen. Zixathora's collapsed mental barriers, combined with the shock of unexpected physical contact, had created an accidental telepathic bridge. For the first time in her diplomatic career, the ambassador found herself experiencing direct mental contact with a human mind. Maya's thoughts and emotions flooded into her consciousness like water through a broken dam. The ambassador expected to find the simple, primitive thought pattern she had always assumed humans possessed. Instead, she discovered something that shook her to her core. Maya's mind was brilliant, complex, and filled with genuine knowledge about the celestial dominion. More shocking still, her thoughts revealed no hatred or fear of aliens, only sincere desire for peaceful cooperation and mutual understanding. The accidental connection lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough to change everything between them. The telepathic connection hit both women like lightning striking water. Maya gasped as foreign thoughts and emotions flooded her mind, while Zixathora stumbled backward, her crystal formations pulsing wildly with uncontrolled energy. Maya felt her consciousness expand beyond anything she had ever experienced. Suddenly, she wasn't just Maya Rodriguez standing in a UN corridor. She was floating above a dying planet, watching purple oceans boil away under a failing sun. She felt the desperate fear of billions of beings whose world was slowly becoming uninhabitable. Through Zixathora's memories, Maya experienced the ambassador's childhood on Celestia Prime. She saw massive crystal cities that stretched toward lavender skies, felt the warmth of twin suns that were now growing cold, and witnessed the gradual exodus of her people as their homeworld began its final decline. The weight of responsibilities Zixathora carried hit Maya like a physical blow. This wasn't just a diplomatic mission for the alien ambassador. This was a desperate attempt to find a new home for her entire civilization. Every decision she made could mean life or death for millions of her people. Maya understood now why Zixathora seemed so arrogant and dismissive. She wasn't just proud, she was terrified. The ambassador had been trained from birth to believe that showing weakness or uncertainty would doom her people. In celestial culture, That was a luxury they couldn't afford. Meanwhile, Zixathara was experiencing something equally shocking. Maya's mind wasn't the simple, primitive consciousness she had expected. Instead, she found herself swimming through layers of complex thought and deep emotional intelligence. She saw Maya's childhood dreams of meeting alien life, felt her years of dedicated study despite mockery from colleagues, and experienced her genuine excitement about first contact. Most surprising of all, Zixathara discovered that Maya had spent countless hours trying to understand celestial culture, not to exploit it, but to find ways to help both species coexist peacefully. The ambassador witnessed Maya's frustration from the previous day, but it wasn't the petty anger of an ignored individual. It was the disappointment of someone who genuinely wanted to help but was being shut out for no logical reason. Maya's mind held detailed plans for resource sharing, cultural exchange programs, and joint scientific ventures that could benefit both civilizations. Zixathara saw something else that shook her deeply. Maya's thoughts contained accurate information about celestial technology and social structures that should have been impossible for a human to know. Yet somehow, through careful observation and brilliant deduction, Maya had figured out details about their species that even some Celestials didn't fully understand. The connection lasted only moments in real time, but both women experienced what felt like hours of shared consciousness. When their mental barriers finally snapped back into place, they stared at each other with completely new understanding. Maya was the first to speak, her voice shaky with emotion. "Your people are dying, aren't they? That's why you're really here." Zixathara's composed diplomatic mask cracked for the first time since arriving on Earth. Her large eyes reflected pain that she had kept hidden for months. "How could you possibly know that? Those details are classified at the highest levels of our government. I felt it." Maya said softly, "When our minds connected, I saw your world. I saw the evacuation ships and the failing sun. I'm so sorry for what your people are going through." The ambassador's crystal formations dimmed as she struggled to process what had just happened. No alien species had ever shown genuine empathy for their plight. Most saw the celestial dominion's desperation as weakness to be exploited. You actually care," Zixathara whispered, more to herself than to Maya. Maya nodded, tears forming in her eyes. "Of course I care. That's what I've been trying to tell you. We want to help, but you have to let us." For the first time, Zixathara really looked at Maya, not as a lesser being or decorative object, but as an individual with thoughts, feelings, and valuable knowledge. What she saw challenged everything she had believed about human intelligence and worth. "In your mind," the ambassador said slowly, "I saw plans, detailed strategies for cooperation between our species. You've been working on solutions to problems I haven't even told your government about yet." Maya wiped her eyes and managed a small smile. "That's what I do. I study, I plan, and I try to build bridges between different cultures. It's been my life's work, even before we knew you existed." Zixathara felt something she hadn't experienced in years: hope. This human had somehow understood their situation better than most of her own advisors. More importantly, Maya seemed to genuinely want to find solutions that would help both species thrive. "Show me," the ambassador said, her mental voice now gentle rather than commanding. "Show me these plans you've created." Maya's face lit up with excitement. She quickly gathered her scattered papers from the floor, organizing them with practiced efficiency. "I've identified 17 areas where our species could benefit from cooperation, resource sharing, technology exchange, cultural programs." As Maya spread out her research, Zixathara found herself genuinely impressed. The documents contained detailed analysis of celestial needs, proposed solutions using Earth's resources, and carefully planned integration strategies that respected both cultures. "This is remarkable work," the ambassador admitted. "Some of these ideas are better than proposals from our best strategic minds." Maya beamed with pride, then grew serious. "But none of it matters if we can't get past the prejudices on both sides. Your people need to understand that humans are more capable than you think. And my people need to understand that you're not conquerors. You're refugees looking for a new home." The word refugees hit Zixathara like a revelation. That's exactly what they were, though her pride had never allowed her to think of it that way. Maya had identified the core truth of their situation in a single word. How do we make them understand? Zixathara asked, surprised to find herself asking a human for advice. Maya smiled, her mind already working on solutions. We work together. We show both sides what cooperation looks like instead of just talking about it. For the first time since arriving on Earth, Ambassador Zixathara felt genuinely hopeful about the future. Over the next 3 days, Ambassador Zixathara found herself doing something she had never done before, actually paying attention to a human every time Maya spoke during the formal sessions. The ambassador listened carefully, even though she still couldn't acknowledge her publicly. What Zixathara discovered amazed her. Maya had an incredible talent for reading between the lines during negotiations. When the Russian delegate made what seemed like a reasonable proposal about mining rights, Maya quietly noted to her supervisor that the terms would actually bankrupt smaller nations. She was right when the Chinese representative suggested a joint space program. Maya immediately spotted 3 potential cultural conflicts that could derail the entire project. Her solutions were elegant and practical, addressing concerns that even Zixathara hadn't considered. Most impressive was Maya's ability to predict how different human groups would react to various proposals. During one heated debate about territory rights, Maya whispered to President Chen that the African Union would never accept the current terms because of historical colonization concerns. 20 minutes later, the African delegates walked out, exactly as Maya had predicted. The ambassador began to realize that Maya wasn't just intelligent, she was strategically brilliant. Her mind worked on multiple levels, considering not just immediate consequences, but long-term effects on relationships between different groups. But Zixathara faced a terrible dilemma. Her own people expected her to maintain their superior status. Celestial culture had survived for thousands of years by believing they were the most advanced species in the galaxy. Admitting that a primitive human could contribute valuable insights would shake the foundation of everything her people believed about themselves. The crisis came on Thursday morning. The talks had reached a complete deadlock over resource allocation. Earth's nations couldn't agree among themselves about how to share benefits from alien technology. While the celestial delegation grew increasingly frustrated with human politics, these creatures are impossible, declared Subcommander Vexstar, Zixathara's military advisor. They fight among themselves like children arguing over toys. How can we trust them with advanced technology when they can't even cooperate on their own planet? The other celestial delegates murmured agreement. They had been watching human behavior for days and were losing patience with the slow pace of negotiations and constant disagreements. Perhaps we should seek alliance elsewhere, suggested Science Director Quinara. The Andorian Republic has shown interest in our proposals. Their society is more organized. Zixathara felt panic rising in her chest. The Andorians were known for their efficiency, but they were also ruthless conquerors. An alliance with them would mean her people would survive, but as subjects rather than equals. Earth was their best hope for a true partnership. We will give the humans one more day, she announced to her delegation. If they cannot reach agreement by tomorrow evening, we will consider other options. That afternoon, as the human delegates argued endlessly about trade percentages and territorial boundaries, Zixathara watched Maya's growing frustration. The young woman kept trying to offer solutions, but the politicians were too caught up in their own agendas to listen. When the session broke for dinner, Zixathara made a decision that would have shocked her people. She waited until the corridor was empty, then approached Maya directly. Dr. Rodriguez, she said quietly. Using Maya's name for the first time, Maya looked up from her notes, surprised. Ambassador, is everything okay? Zixathara glanced around nervously, making sure they were alone. I need to speak with you privately. What I'm about to say could be considered treason by my people. They found a quiet conference room away from the main diplomatic areas. Zixathara activated a small device that would prevent any electronic surveillance, then sat across from Maya with obvious difficulty. My delegation is losing patience. The ambassador began. They want to abandon negotiations with Earth and seek alliance with the Andorian Republic instead. Maya's face went pale. The Andorians, but they're known for enslaving weaker species. If they get access to your technology, I know, Zixathar said miserably, it would be a disaster for both our peoples. But my advisors see only human conflict and division. They believe your species is too chaotic for reliable partnership. Maya leaned forward intently. What would it take to change their minds? A breakthrough, the ambassador replied. Some demonstration that humans can work together effectively. But your delegates have been arguing for days straight. I don't see how. What if we work together? Maya interrupted. You and me, I mean. Behind the scenes, Zixathara's crystal formations flickered with nervous energy. That would be highly irregular. My people would be furious if they discovered I was collaborating with a human they consider inferior. Then we don't. Tell them, Maya said simply. We develop a solution together, but you present it as your own idea. Your people get the credit they need to maintain their pride, and Earth gets saved from the Andorians. The proposal was so audacious that Zixathar almost laughed. You would allow me to take credit for your work. Why would you do such a thing? Maya's expression grew serious, because saving both our species is more important than my ego. I've seen what you showed me through our connection. Your people are dying, and mine are too stubborn to see the bigger picture. If working in secret is what it takes to save everyone, then that's what we'll do. For several minutes, Zixathar sat in stunned silence. The offer went against everything she had been taught about human nature. Humans were supposed to be selfish, power-hungry creatures who put personal advancement above everything else. Yet, here was Maya, willing to sacrifice recognition for the greater good. What did you have in mind? Zixathar asked finally. Maya's eyes lit up with excitement. I've been analyzing the negotiation patterns. Each delegation has one core concern they won't compromise on. If we can address those key issues first, everything else becomes negotiable. She pulled out a complex chart showing relationships between different human factions. The Americans are worried about military security. The Europeans want environmental protection. The Africans need guarantees against exploitation. The Asians are focused on economic opportunities. Zixathar studied the chart with growing amazement. Maya had mapped out the entire political landscape. With incredible precision, your people have similar concerns, Maya continued. Safety for your refugees, resources for rebuilding, and respect for your cultural identity. I think I know how to give everyone what they need. As Maya explained her plan, Zixathar felt hope growing in her chest. The solution was brilliant. In its simplicity, addressing every major concern while creating new opportunities for cooperation. This could actually work, the ambassador whispered. Maya smiled. It will work, but only if we trust each other completely. Zixathar looked at this remarkable human who was willing to risk everything to save both their peoples. Slowly, she extended her hand in the human gesture of partnership. I trust you, Maya Rodriguez. Let's save our worlds. The final day of negotiations arrived with tensions higher than ever. Maya had barely slept, spending the entire night working with Ambassador Zixathar to perfect their secret plan. They had met in hidden corners of the building, sharing ideas and refining details until they had created something neither could have achieved alone. The morning session started badly. The European Union demanded stronger environmental protections. The United States insisted on military oversight of all alien technology. China wanted exclusive trade agreements, while India pushed for equal access to space resources. Each demand made the others more defensive and angry. Maya watched from her seat, her heart pounding as the arguments grew louder. This was exactly what she and Zixathar had predicted would happen. Without intervention, the talks would collapse. Within hours, Ambassador Zixathar sat at the main table, maintaining her usual composed expression while chaos erupted around her. But Maya could see the subtle signs of stress in the way her crystal formations pulsed slightly faster than normal. By lunch break, 3 delegations had threatened to walk out. The African Union was furious about mining proposals that reminded them of colonial exploitation. The smaller island nations felt completely ignored in discussions about sea territory. Even usually calm Canada was getting frustrated with the endless deadlock. "This is hopeless," muttered Secretary General Williams as delegates filed out for lunch. "We're further apart now than when we started." My supervisor, Dr. Chen, shook his head sadly. "Maybe we were too optimistic. Perhaps humans and aliens are just too different to work together." But Maya knew better. She had seen inside Zixathara's mind and understood that their peoples weren't so different after all. Both species wanted safety, prosperity, and respect. The problem wasn't incompatibility, it was pride and fear getting in the way of common sense. During the lunch break, Maya received a discreet signal from Zixathara. They met in the same small conference room where they had first planned their collaboration. "My delegation is ready to leave," Zixathara said without preamble. "Subcommander Vextar has already contacted the Andorian Republic. If this afternoon session fails, we depart tonight." Maya felt ice in her stomach. "Then we have to act now. Are you ready?" The ambassador's expression showed her internal struggle. What they were about to do would either save both their peoples or destroy her career and reputation forever. "I've never been more terrified in my life," Zixathara admitted. "But yes, I'm ready." The afternoon session began with the same arguments and accusations. Delegates talked past each other, each convinced their position was the only reasonable one. Maya watched the clock, knowing they had perhaps an hour before the talks collapsed completely. Then something unexpected happened. The tensions reached a breaking point when the Brazilian delegate accused the Japanese representative of trying to monopolize alien technology. The Japanese delegate responded angrily, and suddenly half the room was shouting at once. Ambassador Zixathara stood up slowly, her 7-foot frame commanding immediate attention. The crystal formations on her temples blazed with brilliant light, and her telepathic voice cut through the chaos like a sword. "Enough," she said, and the room fell silent. "You argue like children while both our species face extinction." The delegates looked shocked. This was the first time the ambassador had shown any real emotion during the entire summit. "You think we came here from a position of strength," Zixathara continued, her voice carrying pain and honesty that no one had heard before. "You believe we are conquerors seeking to exploit your world, but the truth is far different." She paused, and Maya could see her gathering courage for what came next. "We are refugees. Our world is dying, and we need your help to survive." The admission sent shock waves through the room. Several delegates started talking at once, but Zixathara raised her hand for silence. "However, we are not beggars seeking charity. We offer genuine partnership, our knowledge combined with your resources to benefit both peoples. But this will only work if we can trust each other." President Chen leaned forward. "What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador?" This was the moment Maya had been waiting for. But instead of presenting their plan herself, Zixathara did something that completely surprised her. "The solution requires wisdom from both our species," the ambassador said. "I have worked closely with one of your experts to develop a comprehensive proposal. Dr. Maya Rodriguez, would you join me?" Maya's heart stopped. This wasn't what they had agreed on. Zixathara was supposed to take full credit to maintain her people's pride. But the ambassador was looking directly at her with encouraging eyes. On shaking legs, Maya walked to the front of the room. The other delegates watched curiously as she stood beside the alien ambassador. "Dr. Rodriguez has shown me that your species is far more capable than we initially believed," Zixathara announced. "Her insights have been invaluable in creating what we believe is a workable solution." Maya found her voice. "Thank you, Ambassador. What we've developed is a 3-phase integration plan that addresses everyone's core concerns." Working together, they presented their solution. Phase 1 would establish trust through small-scale cooperation projects. Phase 2 would gradually introduce alien technology while ensuring fair distribution among all Earth's nations. Phase 3 would create permanent colonies for celestial refugees, while maintaining their cultural independence. Each concern raised during the week-long talks was addressed. Environmental protection was built into every proposal. Military security was ensured through joint oversight committees. Economic benefits were distributed fairly, with special provisions for developing nations. Most importantly, the plan treated both species as equals rather than rulers and subjects. As Maya and Zixathara explained their vision, something remarkable happened. The delegates stopped arguing and started asking constructive questions. Ideas began flowing. Compromises emerged naturally. When they finished presenting, the room was silent for a long moment. Finally, President Chen spoke. This is actually brilliant. It gives everyone what they need while creating something bigger than any of us could achieve alone. Other delegates began nodding agreement. The Brazilian representative, who had been one of the most vocal opponents, raised his hand. I think this could work. For the first time this week, I actually have hope. Ambassador Zixathara felt tears forming in her large eyes, something that shocked her delegation. Dr. Rodriguez, I owe you and your species an apology. I came here believing we were superior, but I was wrong. True strength comes from cooperation, not dominance. She turned to address both the human and celestial delegations. I formally request that Dr. Rodriguez be appointed as permanent liaison between our peoples. Our future depends on leaders who can build bridges instead of walls. The vote was unanimous. As delegates began working out implementation details, Maya and Zixathara stepped outside for some fresh air. The evening sun painted the sky in brilliant colors, and for the first time in weeks, both women felt genuine peace. Why did you give me credit? Maya asked. Your people needed to see you as strong and independent. Zixathara smiled, an expression that transformed her entire face. I realized something today. Real strength isn't about being superior to others. It's about being brave enough to admit when you need help and wise enough to accept it when it's offered. She placed a gentle hand on Maya's shoulder. Besides, my people need to learn the same lesson I did. Humans aren't primitive creatures to be managed. Your partners to be respected. Maya grinned. So what happens now? Now we change the galaxy, Zixathara replied. One friendship at a time. As they watched the sunset together, both women knew they had created something more valuable than any diplomatic treaty. They had proven that two very different species could not only coexist, but thrive together. The accidental encounter that began with wounded pride had become the foundation for a new era of interstellar cooperation. And it all started because someone sat in the wrong place at exactly the right time.